A lot of you often tell me that I cover way too many depressing topics on this channel. And so today I thought to start off Pride Month, I would have some fun, lighthearted news for you. Pat Robertson is dead. Dead. He has shuffled off this mortal coil. He is an ex-parrot. Pastor. Considering that Robertson's death was just announced today, the day that you might even be viewing this video, you may be shocked that I was able to produce this so quickly. But that's because when it comes to bigoted evangelical snake oil salesmen who worked tirelessly for decades to make the world a worse place for everyone except for themselves, I'm basically like the Incredible Hulk. I'm always angry. I'm always just waiting for that announcement to hit so that I can reel off exactly why this person's death is better for the universe as a whole. I might not remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but God damn it, I will remember that Robertson was an inveterate grifter who was pro-slavery, anti-gay, pro-AIDS, anti-feminist, and pro-genocidal African warlord, and who is a primary reason that the United States is currently wrestling between democracy and theocracy. Robertson deserves to be forgotten as his bloated corpse molders in an unmarked grave, but since I know that won't happen, I will settle for all of us remembering him as he truly was, and that's as a monster. So in case you weren't aware of his history, I'd like to just briefly go over a few of his greatest hits. Pat Robertson was a liar from a very young age. He joined the Marines to avoid being drafted into the Korean War, and he had his powerful father, who was a segregationist U.S. senator, pull strings to put him in the safety of an office for the entirety of wartime operations. When he later tried to claim a heroic military record, a fellow Marine stepped forward to publicly state the truth, for which Robertson attempted to sue him for libel. That Marine pointed out that he had 20 more Marines ready to back him up, and Robertson eventually had to drop the case before a jury could rule that he is a liar. Realizing he had a real penchant for lying, he first went to law school, but failed to pass the bar exam. What do you do when you're a really good liar, but you're too stupid to be a lawyer? Well, you go into religion and politics, of course. So he went to seminary and he became a Southern Baptist minister, which gave him the perceived authority to start the Christian Broadcasting Network, or CBN, a cable TV network that would launch the careers of 1,000 televangelist grifters like Jimmy Baker. Here are some of the things Pat Robertson has told his large and continuing to grow audience over the decades. He said the world would end by autumn of 1982. He said non-Christians are termites and called for a godly fumigation. He said non-Southern Baptist denominations of Christian were the Antichrist, and that Muslims and Hindus are demonic. He famously said that feminism is a socialist anti-family political movement that encourages women to leave their husbands, kill their children, practice witchcraft, destroy capitalism, and become lesbians. Honestly, just a really good time. Thank you for the advertisement, Pat Robertson. He said gay men were wearing sharp rings to cut people and give them AIDS on purpose. He called for Hugo Chavez to be assassinated. He said Haiti was hit with an earthquake because they rebelled against the people enslaving them. He said Disney World was going to be destroyed by a hurricane because they had a gay day. He said homosexuality is the same as bestiality. And like a million more things. Seriously, it was 50 years of nonstop batshit insanity. I can't be here all day just talking about this. But just to be fair, I will mention one really good humanitarian thing Pat Robertson told his CBN audience. In 1994, he urged his viewers to donate money to fund the chartering of a 727 plane that would bring medicine to 250,000 refugees who had been devastated by the Rwandan genocide. Wow. That's so amazing, right? Just a completely selfless act. Oh, wait, no. It turns out, unfortunately, the money Robertson raised was actually used to set up one tent full of Bibles in one refugee camp. The rest of the money was used to set up a diamond mining operation, of which Robertson was the sole shareholder and president. He got the license to mine there from the president of Zaire, who was sanctioned by the UN for human rights violations. So, of course, Robertson used his power and influence to try to have those sanctions dropped. This mirrors Robertson's support of genocidal warlord Charles Taylor, who was president of Liberia during the Second Liberian Civil War. When Taylor was eventually caught and tried at The Hague for crimes against humanity, he admitted on the stand that he gave Pat Robertson a gold mine in exchange for Robertson lobbying in his favor in the United States. That mine would also help fund Taylor's operations in Liberia. Taylor was sentenced to 50 years in prison for terror, murder, rape, and some of the most heinous and brutal crimes in recorded human history. Robertson was sentenced to nothing, of course. He just scooted along to the next big scam. Over the years, Robertson gradually introduced his growing CBN audience of credulous check-writing evangelicals to politics, adding news segments to their devotional programs, basically telling people how to vote. This fit in nicely with Robertson's plan to run for the 1988 U.S. presidency, in which he raised a shit ton of money and then quit before the primaries were over. As Eric Loomis writes over on Lawyers, Guns, Money, once upon a time, lunatic self-promoting celebrity right-wing candidates with zero political experience could win a marginal amount of votes in this country. Alas, those days are past. Everything Robertson did, in fact, lead us to Donald Trump in 2016. That presidential run, sure, but also slowly but surely turning even mainstream Christians into theocratic fascists who truly believe that the separation of church and state was a mistake, and that it is incumbent upon them to use their votes to crush their perceived enemies and usher in the end times. So, yeah, fuck that guy. While it's a good thing that he's dead, it's a very bad thing that he lived to the age of 93. That's 2 decades past the average American, and those decades were vastly more comfortable than the average Americans and ridiculously more luxurious than the average person affected by the Rwandan genocide or the Liberian Civil War. While it may feel good to celebrate that he's gone, I urge you to actually view this as a call to action. Every time one of these billionaire frauds makes it to the end of a long, happy life to die peacefully in their sleep, they win. Rupert Murdoch is going to win. Henry Kissinger is going to win. We absolutely must hold these assholes accountable now while they are alive. There is no judgment day. There is no karma. There is no comeuppance. Much like there is no heaven, so we humans must make heaven on earth. We have to make this life as good as possible for as many people as possible. Well, there's also no hell to punish bad people when they die. So we need to work just as hard to make these jerks' lives as miserable as possible while we can. Tax them, imprison them, criticize them publicly, yell at them in restaurants. Don't let them have a moment of peace, and vote for the people who will hold these people accountable now while they're alive. But still, rest in piss, Pat Robertson. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you loved the video, please subscribe. And if you think the world could use more videos like this and you happen to have a few bucks laying around, head to patreon.com/Rebecca and join an awesome community of nerds like the people whose names you see on the screen right now. Thanks.